Welcome, traveler, to the Lightning Spear, Blood Mage, Bleed Witch, which can do massive explosive damage. Right around on your raw mound, throw out the Lightning Spears. They will cause bleed. The enemies will erupt with a Herald of Blood. Break armor, give you frenzy charges to throw even stronger Lightning Spears that, well, bleed even harder. And against bosses, use your curse together with a rake, then the Lightning Spear into the Blood Hunt to explode them into smithereens. The whole thing works because of this one single node, Blood Barbs. Elemental damage also contributes to bleeding magnitude. As soon as that node is taken, my Lightning Spear does half its damage as bleeding damage on top, which then allows those massive Blood Hunt explosions. The build works solo self-found from level 1 on all the way to level 90, while being a massive amount of fun to play. The early levels are a bit tricky. That's why we're going to break down the build in 4 stages. 1 to 16, 16 to 32, and then 32 to 58. And after 58, you have the full potential unlocked. Step 1, make yourself a witch and call her Cool Spear Lady. And as soon as you get to Clearfeld, buy yourself a spear from Renly. And your first 3 skills you pick up in this order are Explosive Spear, Contagion, and Frost Bomb. Throw your spear forward into enemies, then drop your Contagion. It's gonna erupt and spread the Contagion to anyone surviving and they'll just die. And with the Frost Bomb against bosses, you get bonus elemental exposure. This is gonna be Explosive Spear, Frost Bomb, Contagion. Explosive Spear, Frost Bomb, Contagion. And they'll just fall over. In order to smoothen this out, you want to have overabundance on the Explosive Spear and Unleash on the Contagion. Now you can throw Explosive Spear, and the first spear will explode the second spear, together then with the Contagion on the enemies, again spreading out and nicely obliterating everyone. This continues pretty much until you kill the Rusted King. Because with your first tier 3 gem, you can already go for the Lightning Spear, which then wants to have Elemental Armament number 1, and also Rapid Attacks number 1. Instead of now using your Explosive Spear, it's going to be Contagion, Lightning Spear, Lightning Spear, Contagion, Lightning Spear, Lightning Spear. Pretty much clearing everything as you're just zooming through the areas. Versus bosses, we're still down to Explosive Spear, Lightning Spear, Explosive Spear, Lightning Spear, in between the Frost Bomb. Because now we're doing Lightning and also Fire damage. And that together with a Frost Bomb exposure works quite well together. Your offhand in Act 1 all the way until the end of Act 3 is going to be Rattling Scepters. You will get yourself skeletons, and at this point just pump out as many skeletons as you want. You open the skill menu and just should be able to get 5 to 6. And the further we go, the more we can use all that bonus spirit for our persistent buffs. You could technically add an early rake, but we don't need it at this point. What we definitely want though is the Herald of Thunder from the King of the Mist, together with a Living Lightning. And whenever you actually kill someone that is shocked, and well, the Lightning Spear always shocks people, you get these little lightning minions that do also bonus damage. And then with your first tier 5 gem, you get the real nuke. That would be Storm Lance. Storm Lances, you can launch 3 into the ground, then throw the Explosive Spear in, and bam, it erupts for massive damage. And that's pretty much how we're bossing right now. Frost Bomb, launch 3 spears, explosive. Frost Bomb, launch 3 spears, and it just tears everyone into pieces at this point. For the Stormlands, you also want the Elemental Armament together with the Living Lightning. The passive tree is somewhat tricky in the first phase. You begin here with only stat nodes. Yeah, we're going to go way over stat nodes. Then we get a bonus chance to shock. This works incredibly well. And you want to take all the attack damage that you can get here early, with the attack damage on the side as well. Just get bonus attack damage to actually boost what you're doing, because we're not going to get any attack damage here from this side, which feels really bad. You're starting quite late to gain power, but as you're then gaining power with the Stormlands, bam, it's so much. Next stop is your Ascension. Right away, with level 22 in Act 2, you're just gonna go for it. Which will give you Sanguinimancy for free. We're now making those life arendments by hitting enemies and killing them. We don't need to crit anymore for that. And right away, we can have chance to inflict bleeding on critical hit, and elemental damage also contributes to bleeding magnitude. This will then remove your rapid attacks, or put on a Jeweler's Orb, for bleed 2 at this point. So we're going to have Elemental Armament first, then Bleed, and then Rapid Attacks if you have the slot open. And suddenly, all your Lightning Spears are bleeding. And since we have all the spirit from our offhand, from the Scepter that has those stupid skeletons right in front of us, you could instantly add the Herald of Blood. If enemies now die, they'll Lightning Empower me, and they'll go up in a Blast of Blood too. Contagion won't be used at this point anymore. That's already gone. we're spamming those lightning spears, and for bosses, it's going to be the Stormlands. What we're adding on top is going to be the Blood Hunt. That would then be your tier 7 skill gem. As you then zoom through areas with your lightning spear applying bleed, the rare monsters will always have a portion of bleed saved up that you can then explode with the Blood Hunt. And in order to have the Blood Hunt do true damage, you want pinpoint critical and also inevitable critical. Keep in mind here that you might have to balance your stats around in the passive tree to be able to use all these gems. Your Frost Bomb in this act will get replaced by Elemental Weakness. Since bleeding inflicted on cursed targets is aggravated, they'll take more damage even if they're not moving. And Elemental Weakness wants to have the potent exposure together with a prolonged duration. Passive-wise in Act 2, we're pushing further down the line here for even more attack damage against full life opponents. This is going to have our Lightning Spears just apply bigger bleeds as they hit the first time everyone. And then we're getting even more damage against rare and unique enemies and a lot of attack damage bonus. You can see we're trying to get that attack damage as high as possible here at the bottom too, just to deal flat, good damage that then increases into more bleed, because all the elemental damage is bleeding magnitude. Act 3, all the way to level 58, is going to have some changes because we're adding finally Rake into the build as a bonus massive bleed against bosses. You're still doing your damage with those storm lenses and explosive spears. But you can also begin the whole fight with a Rake jump in, massive bleed, one lightning spear to have your opponent build up that big bleed so you can then Blood Hunt explode them. For this, we want Rake to have concentrated area. We only want to hit one boss. And also momentum. As we then travel 2 meters, it's 40% more damage. Later, you'll also add deep cuts to that for that 100% more bleed magnitude. First deep cuts 1, then deep cuts 2. Which is also the thing we want to have on Lightning Spear. On Lightning Spear, it's not worth it though to put any deep cuts on until you have Bleed 3. Bleed 3 is kind of for level 58 plus. Because then with Bleed 3 and deep cuts 2, you're guaranteed to bleed. And you have 100% increased bleeding magnitude, which is quite insane. And in order to get away from the enemy as you then raked in, you can also use your disengage together with shocking leap and pinpoint critical that if disengage crits, you create shock ground below the opponent. The passive tree continues heading downwards for even more damage, and we're finally getting ourselves more bleed. So this is finally the magnitude of bleeding going up. We're going to be taking the crit magnitude of bleeding going up. We're going to go for here the incision magnitude of bleeding going up in the long run. And down here even more bleed magnitude. But that is pretty much for after 58. You're probably going to have more points at the end of 58 than I'm currently showing here. But that's what the next tab is there for with the 65 plus snapshot. This is how it looks right now with level 67. We went a bit here over the top, removed some points, that we could actually go here for the apply incision, more magnitude of bleeding, more magnitude of bleeding, the magnitude of bleeding, the magnitude of bleeding down here as well with the magnitude of bleed. That has it go so far up. It's so important to do this. So you get the chain explosions on the enemies. Just have them go up in those bleeds. And you definitely need your Herald of Blood to go crazy. Since the Herald of Blood is going to produce our Frenzy charges together with the Uruk Smelting, fully break armor with supported skills causes affected targets to permanently take 2% increased physical damage. Supported skills break 70% more armor. If you don't have Uruk Smelting, you can play a normal break armor gem, and then we're going to add the armor break on top. I break armor equal to 20% of physical damage dealt, and if I break armor fully, I get an endurance charge. Lastly, pinpoint critical that the Herald of Blood actually does some damage. With the Resonance Keystone, you will now turn those endurance charges into frenzy charges. That in between when the enemies are fully packed, you suddenly start building up frenzy charges and your lightning spears are just doing more kavam with more chaining. Our race 4th gem is going to be Ambrosia, where we're going to soak up our mana flask to do more lightning damage, which will lead to more bleed. And our lightning spear hopefully has the deep cuts 2, rapid attacks 2 with the bleed 3 and the elemental armament 2. Explosive spear is not being used at this point anymore, and we're going to start adding amazing spirit skills, namely elemental conflux and also trinity. For this, we'll need 100 spirit each. You will have an offense scepter from Act 4 on with malice on it. Malice is going to spread critical weakness on the enemy, and hopefully some increased spirit. My chest has increased spirit too, and my neck has increased spirit as well, sitting at total at 337 spirit. With elemental conflicts, every 8 seconds, one element is being boosted. Lightning, fire, or frost. And we have fire, frost, we have flat fire damage here, flat fire damage here, and I should probably get even more flat frost damage. All of these are being boosted, and then with Trinity, I'm building up resonance with the highest damaging element, which will then give me more damage. And as the elemental conflicts rotates through, I do more frost, I do more lightning, I do more fire, I do more frost, and it allows me to actually max out the Trinity, all 3 elements. And suddenly after level 58, because tier 14 spirit gems are needed, bam, you feel that super damage boost, and the more bleed that's coming in, suddenly you can rake in, and the enemy just dies away, with the Bloodhunt exploding more than half their HP. If you actually manage to get 337 spirit, I think 320 spirit is enough. We're going to throw out the Stormlands for our Roa mount, together with a Brutus Brain, because Brutus Brain does minions from supported skills cannot be damaged, and minions from supported skills deal no damage. This has your Roar never die. You can still get pumped off of it, but it will never die itself. This has you zoom through maps, throw your spears, they bleed to death, and if you want to, you roll off, bam, Bloodhunt in, rake in, back on your Roa mount, and spear again. Very fun, intriguing gameplay loop. The future plans for the next 20 levels are going to remove a lot of the flat damage and put it into critical. The problem is we need all the critical at the same time. So I need the plus 1% here. I need the fully flashed out Deadly Force. I do need the Moment of Truth. I also do need the Cooked down here. All of this crit gotta come together at the right moment that I instantly have a massive amount of critical strike. If I would swap right now, I sit at 20% crit. That's not worth it. I would need a helmet that provides bonus critical strike. I need a spear that's at least a sea glass spear for that 7%. Wherever I can get bonus critical hit chance, I need to get it. From my amulet as well, critical hit. Wherever you can get it. From your gloves, you want the critical hit everywhere, and then we're swapping over to it. Until then, it's better to find sources of flat attack damage to flat boost our bonuses. But for this, we'll play onwards and get you also the level 65 to 90 guide step by step as we're playing through, because currently I'm level 67 and quite zooming through maps. The beginning was a bit harsh because I tried to do crit with level 67 and it was a mistake. As a tip for bossing, you want to curse the enemy, rake in, disengage, spear, 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 curse them, Bloodhunt, explosion, disengage again, rake, spear, 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 and then just see that nice bleed bar fill up and finish them with a absolute inevitable critical super Bloodhunt. With the next Ascensions, we will also pick up Crimson Power for energy shield on body armor into maximum life, and the Sanguine Tights, which is consistently going to refill our life flask, and if we then fill it fully up, we're actually going to deplete it for a massive physical damage boost, that then being turned into lightning damage, and gives us more bleeding magnitude. What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? A Bleeding Witch, something for you? Blood Mage Lightning Spear? Try it out. If you also need help with crafting and general tips, I got you covered. Enjoy and take care.